speaker. He's a high school All-American in 15s, junior All-American in 15s, collegiate AA 7s, Rugby World Cup 15 and 15s, Rugby World Cup 7s in 2013, and he finished 6th in 2018. And check this out, Rugby Olympian Tokyo 2020. He's played rugby since high school, college, all the way to an Olympian. It's impressive, and it's really what we strive and push our kids to. Our Olympian, Brett Thompson.
So this is basically my one job here for the most part. I'm curious what you guys are thinking, just watching me hover around my dad, Salty Thompson. Like, what's this guy doing? Like saying words every once in a while, but probably not making any sense. But no, it's an honor to be here. I wish I was speaking about 20 minutes earlier because we had a lucky break at halftime. But yeah, it really is an honor to be here, and I just want to thank Richard for asking me about it. To be honest, I heard about this about a week and a half ago. Right now I'm in Arizona, kind of in transition between like playing rugby and deciding what I want to do next. And there's an opportunity in Cleveland coming up next week. And he's like, hey, by the way, you should come out to Wisconsin. There's a summit. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I've never been to a summit before, but let's check it out. And then, a couple days later, I get a text message. Or no, somehow I find out like, oh yeah, they want you to be keynote speaker. I was like, I agreed to come out and shadow you. I didn't agree to be a keynote speaker, but when I thought about it, and kind of like, I guess the position I'm in and my experience throughout my career, I do have some insight that I believe could be valuable to current players and coaches. But first things first, I want to get the important stuff out of the way. Go Pack! I'm from Arizona, but my name is Brett. My dad was a huge Brett Favre fan. Brett, my favorite color is green, and it just happened to be, Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers, when I was about 3 years old. So I've been a fan basically my whole life. But yeah, it was like, oh great, I'll do the keynote. And it was like, oh, we're gonna miss the Packers game on Sunday when I'm flying home. And Richard's like, the game's on Saturday. And I was like, oh, what time? Kickoff's at 7. We're like, oh, what time am I speaking? 8:15. I was like, you're telling me I'm in Wisconsin, like, about to deliver a keynote during one of the most important games of the year? I can't imagine I'll get too much attention, but here we go. So I want to give a little bit, I was going to say give a little bit about my background, but Richard was kind enough to share the majority of it. But I did want to say thank you to the organizers for putting this together. This is huge because it's really comforting to see all of the coaches and players come to an event like this, because that does mean they're committed to being better. And as a Rugby Nation, we want to take that step up, and we only can do that if there's events like this that are going on. And I know this is your guys' first one, and I think it ran really smoothly. And the event tomorrow is kind of going to give kids some insight into what it takes to take that next step up. So give a hand to yourself, and also the organizers and the speakers for kind of running this event. Okay, a lot of notes. So I grew up in Arizona, was introduced to the game early by my dad, an immigrant from Ireland, so was about the only kid in Maricopa County that probably played rugby when I was like 3 or 4 years old, but very thankful for that. But other than rugby, I was a multi-sport athlete, played about 8 sports, organized sports up until high school. Obviously football was like one of the major ones just because it had that kind of pathway, that next step. So I started my USA representative career being invited to a U17 camp, and as you kids will see tomorrow, you're kind of graded on a scale about where you're at. And when I was a U17 player, we had this 1 to 5 scale, which I guess is too aggressive these days, but I got a lot of 2s. And that was a kind of great eye-opening experience for me. And then the next year, the U18 tournament or selection camp, I was selected, and we went on a tour to England. And before we got to them, we were on the plane, and our coach goes, "Oh, so we were playing Northampton Saints Academy." We were like, "The Northampton Saints Academy just beat England U19s by like 20 points," and we were U18s. We were sitting on the plane like, "What the fuck are we going to play then?" And then we got there, and we lost 81-3 against them, and it was probably the greatest experience for me as a player at that time because, you know, depending on where you live as a rugby player, you're in a bubble. You know, you're in a bubble. You might be the best in your city, but then you got the county, you got the state, you got the country, and then it's like, and then you got the rest of the world. You know what I mean? And so that was like huge because I was like, wow, I'm actually not as good as I thought I was. And then, thankfully enough, I was able to be selected for the U19 tour that next year. We went to Kenya for a Junior World Trophy. Ended up losing to Romania in the finals, a heartbreaker, but really cool experience. But again, at that time, we didn't have kind of an academy system, so I decided to pursue rugby or football instead. And I went to the University of Arizona, and at that time, we had the likes of like Rob Gronkowski and Nick Foles and a couple other kind of life NFL players who were starting to move on, getting old like me. But so I was playing football, got to play in the CRCs that freshman year. That was the first one in Columbus, Ohio. The highlight of that was playing against my dad's team, Arizona State, and against my brother. We won't talk about that too much because it's kind of traumatizing to my dad, I think, but that was a cool experience. And then after that, rugby got put in the Olympics my sophomore year, and I was still playing football. And that was kind of like the thing that was keeping me away from rugby because it was like, where's the pathway? And then as soon as it became professional, I had other teammates I had played with in the past who were on the team. I was like, I mean, I've always preferred playing rugby just because all the values and, you know, we know how much different of a game it is compared to football. So I decided to stop playing football and pursue rugby full time. But excuse me. And then once I made that decision, I was like, and this is kind of a note for players in here, what's going to take my game to the next level? Is it playing for University of Arizona at that time, which would have been fine. I was like, probably not. I need to kind of take it up a notch. So I was able to organize a kind of a semi-pro deal in Ireland where I go and I work. I worked in the local school, and then I played for the club, and that was an amazing experience because it took my rugby IQ to the whole next level. You know, in Ireland, they might not be the most athletic people, but they are some of the best. I'm Irish, I can say that, right? They're not the most athletic, I would say, but they are one of the highest IQ rugby nations in the world. So I went from thinking, you know, my game was up here and it ended up being down there, but it just took my game to the next level. And then I came back and played in the CRCs again, and that's when I was selected for like a trial. There was 2 select side tournaments, one in Canada and then one actually in Chula Vista, and the coach of that was Alex McAfee, who was the sevens coach at the time, and basically it was kind of, you know, thrown into the mix and see how I responded. And I was lucky enough to kind of go through that process and perform, and then, hey, yeah, come join the USA team. All right, cool. What are you guys going to do? Nothing. Just come on and see how you like it. And I was like, hey, Mom, Dad, can you help me, please? And they're like, we'll support you, like, you know, early on in this process. And at the time, I was with 7 other teammates in a 3-bedroom apartment, which was actually considered a brothel in like the state of California or something crazy like that. It was like if you had a certain amount of people in a bedroom, yeah, definitely wasn't, but no one wanted to go in there. I mean, that's for sure. But is anyone? That's silly. My heart rate's already high enough right now. experience and eventually got the first developmental contract with Nate Oxberger, who's I guess a state rival, who's from Minnesota, but that was kind of cool. Got a whole $700 a month. But that was amazing to me. I was like, wow, professional rugby player. And that was when I was 22. And that season ended up pretty cool. It was an amazing experience. Got selected for the World Cup, 2013 World Cup in Moscow. Got to play in a 100,000 seater stadium with about 1,000 people. The Russians were playing like crowd noise. They were just like, what's the point? And at that moment I realized it's not about kind of the rugby. It's not the rugby crowd. It's kind of the who's paying the most. But anyways, after that season, I had always aspirations to play professionally overseas. That was my goal, because I prefer 15s, but 7s was just it was like the best program to develop, and then also we were competing internationally, so I was kind of there for at least the Olympics. And I got an opportunity to play with the 15s team against Canada, which was my first cap, and no big deal, scored the game winner. That was a huge moment, and I had kind of been in talks with Edinburgh. It's a professional team in Scotland, and I kind of got a contract right before that game, and then after that game, had a couple more tests, and then flew out to Scotland, where I was there for 3 or 4 months. Was working my way up, competing with the Scottish international wingers, and then got the invitation to play against the All Blacks in Chicago. And then that's where 30 minutes in, made a tackle on Aaron Cruden, went to a breakdown. One of the Franks brothers hit me in the collarbone, and it just popped up. The only thing that was kind of keeping it down was the skin. And then I went to the doctor and was like, "Oh, what's up?" Collarbone's popped out. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I get that, but what's the move?" They're like, "Surgery. What's the recovery?" 7 to 9 months. So that was, on a high, and then straight down. World Cup was in about 10 months, 11 months, so I was trying to focus on, okay, now it's a recovery. So I was going through the recovery, had been playing well at the 15, so I thought, getting the test before the World Cup, and then playing the World Cup. I get a call from the 15s coach, he's like, "Hey, perform in the Pan Am Games with the 7s, and then you'll get invited to the test before that." About a month before the Pan Am Games, "Hey, sorry, your invite for the test before the World Cup, it's no longer there." I was like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, you basically promised that I've been working my butt off. You said Pan Am Games, why isn't that?" So I basically challenged his decision, and thankfully enough, he gave me a shot. I performed very well in the Pan Ams, and then was able to go to the World Cup in London. I got to come off the bench against Samoa, and then played against South Africa. It was a lot of defense. I think I did a pretty good job, even though the score was pretty high, but it wasn't on my side. No, I'm just kidding. There was 1 or 2 on my side. And then went back to 7s, kind of again riding on a high. I'm like, all right, things are going well. So I go to Dubai, play in Dubai, was starting. It was like, it's hard to transfer from 15s to 7s, especially in the international game. And didn't perform well first game, benched for the rest of the tournament for the most part. Got into some garbage time. Went to South Africa, played well in South Africa, and then talked to the coaches. Yeah, all good. Okay, so leading up to the next camp, one of my best camps I probably had at the time, and the coach goes, "Oh, sorry, you're not going. You need to get fit." It's a never-ending battle for me, but I'll do my best. And then someone got injured, got brought into the team, just drilled into the dirt, and then was selected to start in a scrimmage, and then tore my ACL January of 2016. The Olympics was in August 2016, and I talked to my doctor, talked to my physio. I was like, "Is this possible?" They're like, "Kind of." Like, you say kind of. So you're telling me there's a chance? And like, "Yeah, there's a chance, but not really." So I was like, "All right, well, here we go." I wanted to kind of end 7s at that point and continue on the 15s, but I kind of knuckled down with a teammate who had tore his ACL at the same time, Kevin Swearing, and we just worked our butts off, and we were in good physical shape leading up to that Olympic camp. But it was it was the hardest 5 weeks of my life by far. And by the end, we had like 4 scrimmages in the last day, and on the very last scrimmage, it was a kickoff, it was supposed to go to me, so I'm all prepared, getting excited. And it was kind of a shank, but I kind of like hesitated and put my leg out, hyperextended, and knee swelled up, and then the coach basically said, "You ran out of time." Like, just unfortunate, like nice try, kind of. And then I just kind of like was obviously disappointed, but there's really nothing you can do at that point. So I was like, all right, what's the next goal? Got another 4 years to the Olympics. Let's go back to 15s. So I went to a select side, the Selects tournament, which was in Uruguay, and was playing well in that, kind of getting back in my groove. Last game against Uruguay, hyperextended and bone bruised my knee again, and was like, all right, I'm not playing around with this. I'm not going to go to Dubai in South Africa, which is about 2 months later. I'm going to wait till New Zealand to just make sure I take care of this. First practice in New Zealand, went to make a pass, my defense was shooting up, didn't take another step, rotated, and basically tore my own ACL. Again, almost a year to the date that I did it the first time. And I was pissed. I was so pissed, because I put so much work into getting back, was trying to play smart about it, but this happened. And I had to take a walk. I was walking around New Zealand, just like, man, I'm gonna burn this damn city down. I don't know, maybe my ancestors did something wrong over here, because I feel like I'm cursed here, but so then I kind of made the decision. I was like, you know what, if I tear my ACL again, it's probably it. It's probably it. So, you know, hey coach, I hope you support this, but I'm taking a year, I have to. And I did. And that took me into the 18 season, which I came on and was playing for Mike Friday, and I was playing basically kind of garbage time for the most part, but getting my confidence back and just trying to get back on the team. And the 18-19 season came around, and then it was really starting to get in my groove. And then I had the 2018 World Cup. And then after that season, it was really starting to get into my groove and feeling extra confident about where I was at. We were second place at the time in the world, which was obviously the highest we'd ever been. It's funny, like, why am I having to do notes about my story? Wait, what did I do? I don't remember. So yeah, 18-19 season, kind of working my way back, and then Hong Kong, Singapore, which is the 7th and 8th tournament. Was in a scrimmage, and I made a weird step. Felt like a weird feeling in my foot. I was like, oh, whatever, okay. Played the tournament, kept getting worse. When I got scanned, oh, high ankle sprain, something wrong with your hip. Okay, it's pain management. Okay, pain management, I can do that. I don't know, it's pain, whatever, feel it. And then, so I played that tournament, and then rested the week, went to... We did something good, right? Okay, played that tournament, or rested the week to play in Singapore, and then a free ball popped up, picked it up, ran and scored, and was like, no, this is not good. Went back again, got an MRI after that tournament. Well, you have a fracture line in your thick, but it looks like it's healing. It could be an old injury. Okay, cool, old injury. We'll sit you for about the next month leading up to London and Paris, because we were second in the world, or we were first in the world at that time. And it's like you're telling me, a person who's been watching rugby my whole life, I'm a part of a team who is potentially going to win the World Series. I'll die out there. I don't give a damn. And then that was my mentality. And then we were playing in London. I got the ball on the outside, first play after resting for about a month. I had a 15-meter channel on the outside. Spanish guy rushed me on the inside. I was like, dude, really? Okay. So I had to go full speed. It was like, 60-meter try, scored. And then I was like, no. Okay, this is not a high ankle sprain. This is This is something extra. Anyway, so went this summer, they're like, let it rest. I'm like, great, yeah, let it rest. I can do that. I can do that for sure. So I rested, and then my girlfriend's Swiss. I was in Switzerland, and they were like, her dad's actually sure. He was like, why are you getting MRIs? You get a CT scan. Get a CT scan. I showed, oh, wow. They say MRI. So I got an MRI there. He's like, there's a fracture. You need to get a CT scan. So I came back after resting 3 months, and September of 2019, less than a year before the Olympics, I go to a foot surgeon. He comes out with a scan, he puts it up, there's like a bone and then like a line about 90% through. And I was like, is that supposed to look like that? He's like, no. He's like, that's a stress fracture, that you have a stress fracture that's 90% through your bone, your navicular bone. What's a navicular bone? And he showed me, and I was like, so what's the move? He said, you need surgery. And I said, okay, when are we doing it, doc? He's like, I'm not doing it. You gotta step way out of your comfort zone. Play for a select side. Move to another city, or a more competitive team. Move to a foreign rugby nation and get a job and play higher level rugby. This is more achievable with film highlights, and I don't want to go and it's more achievable with film highlights, and you need to get someone to record your games. And you can't have the excuse of, oh, I don't have anybody to record my games. Go to the mall, sell candy bars, and I guarantee you someone will film your games for some money. Once you kind of have film, it's a lot easier to find opportunities, because, you know, talk is cheap, as they say. Like, you can easily say, yeah, I'm really good, and they're like, well, I'm over on the other side of the world, like, how do I know that I can trust your word? So, that is key to kind of finding opportunities. Point 3, coaches and players. Try to foster a growth mindset for your team. A growth mindset is a belief where people's most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. All of us in this room probably can remember a stud player who didn't make it, and it probably had something to do with lacking those 2 values. A growth mindset team may have given that stud the last piece of the puzzle to succeed. One way to ensure a growth mindset environment is to highlight and acknowledge those who are pushing to better themselves, not only acknowledging the best. Everyone involved in the club is important, not just 1 to 3 players. Point 4, rugby is a sport. I'm sure that's not a surprise to all of you, but what does that mean? The definition of sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. I believe the key word there is entertainment. The game is meant to be fun. Find ways to be lighthearted and make sure, regardless of outcomes, you can highlight positives. And this is especially true at the youth level. How can we expect players to fall in love with the game and be committed if they see going to rugby as a chore? And this is the last point. I believe you need to make it personal. Find your culture and values as a team and be prepared to defend them if need be. It seems like although we have more means than ever to be connected, society has become more disconnected. Make your team the change. Build a community. That is what rugby is all about. Players, get your friends to training. Recruit from your school. Coaches, find ways to engage the alumni. Get them out to help coach, or come to the games or donate. We all know what this game has done for us, but often we can't comprehend the impact it can have on others. Little efforts can produce large results. And then it also gives players even more of a reason to play. You know, it's something bigger than themselves. Rugby can create a lifetime of brother and sisterhood, and it's our honor and responsibility to continue to foster this. Thanks for your time. Cheers.